He said he thought Dillon Gabriel was a little bit better. Y'all, chill out. You're making this combative when there's no need to be combative.
The fact that you're only here for Shedeur, okay.
Bump the Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In their mind of logic, we're going to, and I'm pretty sure this same group of people complain about things that don't go their way in other realms of life.
As the season draws near, the conversation around Shedeur Sanders is getting more intense, with fans standing firmly behind their quarterback and believing in his potential. On the flip side, some critics haven't held back, calling those supporters naive or even foolish for backing Shedeur before he's had a real shot in the NFL. But sometimes, it's the most passionate voices that stick to what they believe, and Garrett Bush is definitely one of them. Recently, Emmett Golden criticized Shedeur's fans, accusing them of overhyping him and being too defensive. But Garrett Bush wasn't about to let that slide. He clapped back, pointing out the double standard in Emmett's comments. Garrett reminded everyone that Emmett was already pushing for Dillon to be the starter, even though Dillon clearly isn't ready for that spot yet. Garrett's point came through loud and clear. There's no reason to boost other quarterbacks just to downplay what
It's sad. If it doesn't fit your narrative, you are the enemy. No room for civil discourse.
Shedeur brings to the table. Garrett Bush didn't stop there. He made it clear that the support for Shedeur Sanders isn't just about what he can do on the field. There's a bigger picture. Garrett pointed out that Shedeur has already shown what he's made of off the field, especially with how he carries himself in interviews and press conferences. His leadership, confidence, and presence behind the mic have already made a strong impression. Even though Shedeur hasn't played an official NFL game yet, Garrett Bush didn't hold back when responding to the people still doubting him. He took on every critic, questioning how anyone could look at Shedeur and not see the talent. How are they rating him like this when he's clearly that good? Garrett asked. He called out how unfair and inaccurate some of the evaluations were, saying people were seriously underestimating Shedeur's abilities, and fans weren't just going to stay quiet about it. Garrett made one thing crystal clear. Judging Shedeur so harshly before he's even had the chance to prove himself in the league doesn't make sense. There's a lot of talent there that's just waiting to be seen. He kept driving the point home. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a potential future star. He's ready right now. Garrett said Shedeur has what it takes to be the face of the Browns today. From how seriously he prepares, to his calm under pressure, to how he shows up when it matters most. Everything about Shedeur screams leadership, and that's exactly the kind of player Cleveland needs.
Of course, I already think that he's better than the other quarterbacks. Because that move to the 5th round, that's cool. They might have to go along with it, but to me, I think if you ask who got the best tools, I'm going with Shedeur Sanders.
Garrett Bush didn't mince words. He made it crystal clear. If anyone comes after Shedeur Sanders' fans without a good reason, they're going to get the same kind of pushback they're seeing now. No filters, no holding back. Garrett wasn't backing off, and he made sure everyone knew just how real the loyalty and dedication of Shedeur's supporters are. He understood that this fan base isn't just rallying behind Shedeur because of his talent on the field. They believe in his character, his grind, and the idea that he can lead Cleveland into a better future. That support runs deep. Not long ago, Colin Cowherd also decided to take a jab at Shedeur Sanders and his fans, and what he said definitely raised eyebrows. Colin went beyond just sharing an opinion. He challenged Shedeur's supporters, telling them to defend him the same way they had for guys like Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson on Reddit. But this wasn't some offhand take. Colin took it further, targeting everything Shedeur had worked hard to build. His words didn't feel like simple criticism. They came off as straight-up disrespect toward both the player and the people backing him. Colin's remarks weren't just about Shedeur's game. They were a direct hit on the commitment and belief his fan base continues to show.
100 miles an hour. Yep. All you fanboys, go ahead. Manziel, Baker, Deshaun Watson, defended it to the hilt on your Reddit account. Sorry.
After Colin Cowherd made his bold remarks, it didn't take long for the backlash to roll in. Fans weren't about to let that kind of disrespect slide, especially after he came so hard at Shedeur Sanders and the people who support him. The response on social media was fast and intense, with fans speaking out loudly about how upset and frustrated they were. Colin had to face serious heat for what he said, and it quickly became clear that his shots at Shedeur weren't something fans were going to just brush off or forget. Sharing an opinion about a player's talent or potential is one thing. That's part of what makes sports fun to talk about. Everyone's entitled to their own take, and discussions around player projections are nothing new. But going as far as mocking an entire fan base and calling them dumb, that crosses a line. Critiquing Shedeur's performance is fair game, but insulting the people who believe in him, that's a whole different story. Fans put in time, energy, and emotion into rooting for their favorite players, especially someone like Shedeur, who's already shown so much potential. Calling that kind of loyalty dumb isn't just rude, it completely misses what sports fandom is all about. These fans aren't blindly following someone. They see the work Shedeur puts in, they see the future he could have, and they stand behind him because they truly believe in what he can become. Mocking that belief takes away from the heart of being a fan. People care deeply about Shedeur Sanders, not just for what he can do on the field, but for what he represents. For a lot of fans, this isn't just about football. It's about hope. It's about seeing someone lead their team with strength and determination. The idea of Shedeur stepping up as Cleveland's starting QB isn't just some random dream. It's something fans are emotionally tied to. They want to see him succeed, grow, and become the player they know he's capable of being. For many, the connection goes beyond football. It's personal. It's about loyalty, belief, and holding on to the idea that better days are ahead with Shedeur leading the way.
Let me go play once again with your little round. Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders is all about the hustle, and he's clearly not taking his foot off the gas anytime soon. Even in the offseason, he's locked in. He was recently seen in Miami, completely focused and getting ready for what might be the biggest test of his football journey so far, a four-man battle for the starting quarterback spot. The buzz around him is real, and with so much on the line, Shedeur isn't just showing up, he's showing up with intention, making it obvious he's determined to earn that role. Amid all the talk and debate around Shedeur Sanders, Garrett Bush has stepped up as one of his most outspoken supporters, not just for the player himself, but for the fans who've stood by him. A lot of those fans have taken heat from critics who label their support as blind or misplaced. But Garrett's not just defending Shedeur's skill set. He's standing strong for the fans who truly see something in him. His sharp responses to voices like Emmett Golden aren't just about defending Shedeur, they're about protecting the loyalty and passion of the fan base. Garrett gets that Shedeur's supporters aren't just tagging along for the ride. They see leadership. They see someone who puts in the work, both on and off the field. Their passion comes from real belief in his vision, in his drive, and in the idea that he has what it takes to lead their team forward. Garrett Bush has made his position clear. He's not going to sit quietly while fans are mocked for standing by their guy. His support goes beyond Shedeur. It's about honoring the commitment and spirit of those who believe in him. In a time when fandom often gets dismissed or questioned, Garrett reminds everyone that this kind of connection between a player and their fans is bigger than just wins and losses. It's about belief, it's about unity, and it's about backing someone who represents something greater. So, what's your take on Shedeur Sanders and the fans who are all in on his journey? Do you believe in what he brings to the table, or do you think the hype's getting ahead of the reality? And if you're still unsure, how do you view the energy surrounding Shedeur and the people who support him? Jump into the comments and let us know where you stand.
Kevin Stefanski feels like his job may be on the line.
I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
And so you didn't get this man a fighting chance to compete. He went into a gunfight with 2 knives. He gonna lose that every time.
You know you're going to waive Tyler Huntley. So what good did that 2-minute drive do for him? Was it going to help him? Don't you think Shedeur would have benefited more from a 2-minute drive than Tyler Huntley?
Coach Kevin Stefanski looks like he's backing off, and the heat is clearly on him and the Browns to make a call. After the game, several offensive linemen who'd been on the field with Shedeur Sanders were waived, and a few players had their deals terminated. The blowback was immediate, forcing Stefanski to explain his handling of Shedeur's snaps, especially why he pulled him before the 2-minute hurry-up, a situation many felt fit the rookie perfectly. Stefanski didn't sound convincing. Under obvious pressure, he said he put Tyler Snoop Huntley in for the final 2 minutes to get him tuned up. He looked rattled delivering it, still pushing the idea that Huntley needed that work. Let's be real, Huntley was an emergency pickup when injuries piled up. He's a stopgap, unlikely to stick on the 53, and yet Stefanski used that moment to sit Shedeur. The message in his tone was hard to miss. He knows the choice isn't playing well, and the whole approach around Shedeur Sanders is already blowing back on the staff. Before we go deeper into Stefanski's full comments and what they mean going forward, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more updates. As for the decision itself, The head coach's shaky explanation only highlighted how tense things have become. Framing the move as a tune-up for Huntley doesn't track with the stakes or with Shedeur's development timeline. It looks less like a plan and more like a scramble, and it's starting to backfire.
And did you, I'm sure you kind of answered this last night, but why didn't you keep him in for the 2-minute, or why did you decide to take him out?
Yeah, nothing more than decided to give Snoop.
TJ Houshmandzadeh, the former NFL wideout, didn't mince words about Kevin Stefanski's handling of Shedeur Sanders. He said that in all his years around the league, he's never seen a coach appear so uninterested in a player's success. To Houshmandzadeh, Stefanski's choices look personal, like there's a grudge against Shedeur, and that's what he finds most troubling. TJ Houshmandzadeh called the bias blatant and cautioned that, if it's real, the push on the Browns to dismiss Kevin Stefanski will only intensify.
The fans gonna be saying, Shedeur our quarterback. Shedeur should be our starter. Shedeur should be the guy that starts game 1, week 1. Look what he did. They didn't want that to happen. And I don't know what's going on with Kevin Stefanski. It's almost as if, and I don't even want to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
And that's exactly how it came across. Kevin Stefanski's body language said plenty. He looked like a coach feeling the axe over his shoulder. TJ Houshmandzadeh added that this isn't the first time Shedeur Sanders has been treated this way. He pointed to the opening preseason game, where Shedeur was sharp, yet Stefanski offered no real praise. Now, after what unfolded yesterday, it looks like Stefanski is pushing the idea that Shedeur was at fault, almost as if he's trying to validate the staff's stance that they were right and Sanders was wrong. TJ even suggested it felt like the situation was engineered from the start to make Shedeur come up short.
Well, like when he played well the first game, he was so off-putting, like, oh yeah, well, we'll see what happens next. Like, he played great, man. He exceeded our expectations. He didn't say none of that. And so to me, it's as if they want him to fail so they can justify doing what they want to do.
And Houshmandzadeh's red holds up. From the very first preseason outing, Kevin Stefanski's slant felt apparent. Even after Shedeur Sanders put together an impressive, mistake-free showing, Stefanski declined to highlight him, retreating to broad comments about developing all the quarterbacks and skimming past Shedeur's standout work. It didn't come across as genuine buy-in on Shedeur's future in Cleveland. Now the spotlight is squarely on Stefanski, who seemed intent on easing Shedeur towards the margins. Ironically, the coach looks more vulnerable than the rookie. After weeks of rigid messaging and thin criticism, he's suddenly pivoting, saying they'll concentrate on developing Shedeur Sanders. An about-face that screams pressure from the fan base. And it isn't only fans. Reporters and analysts are pressing him as well. Emmanuel Acho weighed in, arguing that by placing Shedeur with an offensive group filled with players unlikely to make the 53, Stefanski engineered a no-win evaluation. Acho's point was straightforward. Even a quarterback with Tom Brady's resume would have struggled in that setup with that caliber of support. In those conditions, any rough patches for Shedeur were predictable, an indictment of the context, not the quarterback.
The COVID year, so it gave everybody an extra year if you wanted it.
Understandable. But listen, it's
what the chat say? The chat. Well, who the chat believe he took a shot or no?
Let me look in the chat. I need to open my phone. Hold on. I'm curious to see what the chat would think. They are saying
Houshmandzadeh's take still holds. From the first preseason snap, Kevin Stefanski's slant felt obvious. Even after Shedeur Sanders delivered a crisp, mistake-free showing, Stefanski sidestepped any real credit, defaulting to broad talk about developing all the quarterbacks and skating past Shedeur's standout work. It didn't read like genuine buy-in on Sanders' future in Cleveland. Now the spotlight has swung to Stefanski, who looked intent on easing Shedeur to the edges of the plan. Ironically, the coach seems more vulnerable than the rookie. After weeks of rigid messaging and thin critiques, he's suddenly pivoting, saying they'll focus on developing Shedeur Sanders. A shift that screams fan pressure. And it isn't only the fan base. Reporters and analysts are pressing him too. Chad Okosinko weighed in, arguing that by sticking Shedeur with an offensive group filled with fringe or soon-to-be-waived players, Stefanski set up a no-win evaluation. Ochocinco's point was straightforward. Even a quarterback of Tom Brady's caliber would have struggled in that environment with that level of support. In those circumstances, any rough patches for Shedeur were predictable, an indictment of the setup, not the quarterback. Chad Ochocinco warned that the chorus of team-friendly critics would soon start branding Shedeur Sanders a bust, reducing him to fifth-string status, and the real problem would get ignored. Kevin Stefanski put Shedeur in a no-win setup. Despite growing backlash, Ochocinco argued this all looks like a coordinated effort to drag Shedeur down, with more energy spent tearing him apart than acknowledging why he struggled. He was right about the setup, but wrong about the Browns skating by. Fans are loudly calling for Stefanski's job over what they view as clear bias towards Shedeur Sanders. And that pressure is only intensifying. Skip Bayless also weighed in, blasting Cleveland's approach as the worst way to handle a young quarterback. He pointed to a recurring pattern. Shedeur has been consistently mishandled by Stefanski and by the organization, and that this isn't a one-off misstep. In Bayless's view, Sanders hasn't been given a fair runway or the right support, and the way the team has managed him has only piled on the pressure, making it even harder for him to succeed.
I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened by the way Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League. Now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
Given how this has played out with Shedeur Sanders, it's hard to escape the sense he was put behind the 8-ball from the start. When he made his first preseason start, Stephen A. Smith said the Browns were setting Shedeur up to fail, and recent events only strengthen that take. Between the lack of meaningful first-team reps and a string of puzzling play calls, the context never looked built for growth. At this point, the pattern makes his setbacks feel less like natural growing pains and more like the product of an environment that was never set up for him to succeed.
Was out there, I talked to Denzel Ward.
Yep.
I talked to some. Wait, I didn't say the name. But anyway, I done talked to some people. He looked different. There's a difference when that young bull is out there spinning that ball. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Difference. I'm talking about football. I ain't talking about no media and all that hoopla and all them. On Twitter they putting up the numbers. Some he with 10 for 12 for 2 touchdowns. I'm talking about when he's at the helm, he looks different. Whether he's going with the first team, second team, or third team, it don't matter.
From being buried on the depth chart as a fourth stringer to suddenly becoming a standout on the second team, Shedeur Sanders just pulled off the most impressive quarterback comeback since Tom Brady made the world believe he wasn't finished at 40.
What is it going to take for you to just buy in to Shedeur Sanders when players all around him are telling you how different he looks, how good he looked, how he just has that aura to him? Because it seems like all the players that are around Shedeur Sanders have nothing but great things to say about him and love him. Because again, he clearly just looks different than the rest of the competition that we've seen. And like I said, the last time I've seen guys go for or say things about a certain player like that, it was Baker Mayfield. So could 12 be that guy? How long until we see 12? Because I feel like it's just a matter of...
The same haters who were cheering when he got dropped to fourth string are now scrambling for excuses faster than a glitchy Wi-Fi during the Super Bowl. Get ready, because this isn't just a step up on the depth chart. It's a serious reality check that's got the critics choking on their own words with a big helping of humble pie.
Being said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep. You talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, Mike Knapp. Yeah, once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
The Cleveland Browns training camp just turned into the most talked about event in town. All thanks to Shedeur Sanders, who took his spot as fourth string and used it as motivation for one of the most impressive rises the NFL has seen in years. While everyone was busy counting him out and calling his career dead, Sanders was quietly putting together a performance so good that coaches are saying they haven't witnessed anything like it in the last 15 years.
Drafted in the 5th round, all that means nothing when it's time to play football and that whistle blows. He looks different than the rest of the competition. That's what I heard. And I'm talking from a not Brother Ward, I'm just talking about from sources that's in that room, that's on that field, that's playing the sport. Man, come on, man.
Yep, coaches with decades of experience are honestly scratching their heads, trying to figure out how someone goes from being a practice squad afterthought to seriously competing for a starting spot in just a few weeks.
Thing is, they never planned on taking him. The problem is, like Ochocinco said, you got somebody that has endeared himself to the locker room. And guess what? The difference between him and Tim Tebow, the biggest one, is he can play. He can throw the ball. Tim Tebow running around being an H-back. He can throw the ball. And he's done everything he needs to do. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't rocking the boat. He ain't mad about the reps. He ain't mad about none of that. All the people out there want to see is this, like Tyler said earlier. We want to see what he can do with Jerry Jeudy.
That's it.
I want to see what he can do with David Njoku. I want to see him with Junkins. I want to see him with the first running backs. If you are cooking, if you are beating down the doors with the 3s and 4s, guess what? You deserve more. That was a bar. It rhymed. It was.
Remember when Mary Kay Cabot dropped that bombshell report saying Shedeur Sanders was the 4th string quarterback? The internet blew up faster than a Michael Bay explosion. Critics came out of nowhere, like ants at a picnic, rushing to call his NFL dreams dead on arrival. They claimed he was only shining against guys who'd either end up on practice squads or be out of the league by September. They pointed out he wasn't getting reps in 11-on-11 drills and said he needed to earn his way up the depth chart.
Dude, listen, the guy, all I can say is that he goes where the ball's supposed to go and it looks the way it's supposed to look. Mm-hmm. And when I hear that tells me it sounds like the Browns may have got a steal with Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round because I think he'll have a chance. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback in September, like week 1 or 2 or whatever it may be early in the year, but I think he's got a chance to develop into something that hopefully would preclude them from having to draft a quarterback first overall or top 5 next year.
He said, I see some balls coming out of Shedeur Sanders at that game, and I'm like, kind of looks like a guy.
Yeah, I'm reading.
He can sling it.
I see him, some of the veterans, how they talk to him, mic'd up, see what he's doing in the community.
Yep. You talking about Njoku there?
Njoku, Mike Napier. You once you see, different little interactions and things like that, I know he has the talent. We'll see. It'll be a competition that usually brings the best out of guys, especially young guys. So I'm interested to see how that quarterback situation.
I've heard he's been outstanding.
Funny how the tables have turned. Those same critics are now watching Sanders climb the depth chart like he's scaling Mount Everest with rocket boosters. The guy they wrote off is now the one they can't stop paying attention to. Every completion sends a message. Every perfect throw is a reminder that real talent doesn't stay hidden forever. And with every practice, he's showing that maybe, just maybe, the Browns stumbled upon their hidden gem.
One thing for the fans to sit here and hype up Shedeur Sanders because we all know how we get about certain players that we like. But it's another thing when you hear it from players who are actually on the field, who are actually in the locker room, who are actually next to this guy every single day. Because I'm sure we've all seen the quote by now by Chad Johnson when they were on the nightcap, and he talked to some young bulls. He talked to Denzel Ward. He didn't want to give away his name, but he already did it. And he said that Denzel Ward says he looks different from the rest of the competition. We've already been seeing.
When word got out that Shedeur Sanders officially moved up to second-team reps, passing Dylan Gabriel along the way, the shockwaves hit from Cleveland all the way to Canton. This wasn't just some small roster tweak, this was huge. One day he's throwing passes to practice squad guys, and the next he's running with the second team, putting real pressure on the starting quarterback spot. The promotion came after Sanders completely dominated minicamp, showing toughness, leadership, and total control on the field. His passes were right on target, hitting receivers in stride. His decision-making was sharp as a blade, and his grasp of the playbook had coaches nodding like proud parents at a school play. But this wasn't beginner's luck. It was steady, calculated execution that the coaching staff just couldn't ignore.
And I don't know, there was never no one thought he was this malcontent or like a bag. It wasn't.
That was the word,
That was kind of what was being said. That was kind of what was being said.
No. The pre-draft process was so unorthodox that he didn't go through it all like everyone else did. And I think there's a lot that we can look back on this thing, especially if he becomes a star in this league and say, you could point fingers in a million ways. Not having a pure agent, not having the workouts that everyone else did, going to these teams, not necessarily being as willing to throw the ball when asked at the All-Star games, like that kind of stuff I think might have stung him, it might have turned teams off, but I know.
When Stephen A. Smith starts singing your praises, that's when you know you've officially arrived. The ESPN personality, famous for his fiery takes and no-nonsense analysis, didn't just mention Sanders. He gave him the full Stephen A. treatment. He praised Sanders not only for his top-tier football skills, but also for the intangibles that separate the good from the great. This kid's mindset puts him ahead of the pack, Stephen said, with the confidence of someone who's seen enough football to spot greatness from a mile away. He pointed out Sanders' composure, mental toughness, and relentless drive to compete at the highest level. When Stephen A says, "It's not just about throws and stats anymore. You better believe the whole football world is paying attention."
All this stuff wasn't made up. I covered the draft for ESPN. I'm sitting on the desk. It's Shefty, it's Mel, it's me, it's Lewis. I heard some of the same things that Deion Sanders is talking about. And S.A. and Kenton, you know this, we all have relationships. We all have people who tell us information, they help us prepare to do our job. I heard some of the same things. Some of these things weren't necessarily made up, at least I don't think, from the people that I trust who told me these things. And so